Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Bree Bird, a member of your Board of Trustees, and I want to welcome you this morning to East Shore Union Church's, in case you didn't notice, what is our annual Blessing of the Animal service. So on that note, I would like to read to you Welcome, Sweet Soul by Dr. Rebecca Savage. Welcome, sweet soul, to this place of renewal and hope. Here we welcome your tender places and yearnings to be fully present. Welcome, sweet soul, to this place of meaning and belonging. Here we welcome your questions and wonderings on the journey towards wholeness. Welcome, sweet soul, to this place of compassion and heart. Here we welcome you, all of you, and we invite you in as you are, as we are. Here we welcome you to renew your connection to the spirit of life. Renew your relationship to the sacred, the interdependent web of all existence. Welcome, sweet soul. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Halcyon Domanski, and I am the Director of Faith Development here at East Shore. And in case you did not hear Bree, today is Blessing of the Animals, a day to honor and brag and show off our non-human family members, to hold up our seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, and to recognize we are only one strand. It is every other living thing that actually creates the web of life. Now, I ask you to look in your order of service for the words to Stray Cat Strut.
We light this chalice in honor of the animal realm, furred and hoofed, two-legged, four-legged, many-legged, or none at all. Fanged and clawed, gentle and fierce, wild and tame. May we remember that all living things are our relatives, worthy of our care and respect.
So now we are going to come to our part of the day where we share our joys and cares that are written in this book here that is normally out in the narthex. And today, it says the 26th, it's the 27th, so I'm going to go with that one. Many thanks to the Fourth Saturday Women, who put forth a huge effort to clean some shelves for the plumbing repairs. Yay, yay, yay. And Maggie Calkins will be traveling to Milwaukee next weekend to be honored with a Changemaker Award. Ooh. From the Center for Health Design, this recognizes her lifetime work changing environments for people living with dementia. Yes, you deserve that. Now I'm going to clap because that's what's up. And on this day, we human animals acknowledge the blessings our animals bestow upon us, and in return, we send our loving wishes to them. It is a joyous occasion, and this will be a joyous service. However, we would all be remiss not to acknowledge all the animals, pet or wild, that are suffering. They have lost their humans and their safety through sickness or through war. And though there are so many people trying to help and are doing so at great personal risk, it is still confusing and frightening for these beings to suddenly be alone and surrounded by chaos. If you took a stone from the bowl or brought one with you or grabbed one as you come up, please hold it in your palms, your hands, feel the texture, feel the weight, and while we have this moment of silence where we hold up these joys and these sorrows and remembrance of loved ones, celebrations and struggles, both those that we carry in the community and those in our hearts, and let us send our prayers and thoughts to all the creatures in these horrible situations. When the singing bowl sounds, please join us as you're willing and able and place your stone in the bowl underneath our beacon. Challenging Times by Joan Javier Duval. Holy mystery, silent presence, uncertain bearer of weight of it all. In these quiet moments we listen for maybe still breathing, perhaps still whispering, faintest sign of the universal good. We listen between the cacophony of distractions, pulling us towards untruth and falsehood. We listen amidst the shrill cries of desperation, of we have had enough, when will they stop killing my people, of how much more will the waters rise, of when will it be safe to return to my home, of how much longer can I hang on. We listen and we wait. Through the tumult of these days, we seek assurance. We seek the fulfillment of a promise made to ourselves, a promise made to those we have been stretched to call neighbor, a promise written and enshrined and yet unfulfilled. Help us, abiding mystery, to hang on, to hold on when all is in question, when all is in doubt. Help us to stay firm in our own commitments and our own promises. Lead us back into the connection, back into the bonds of community, back into the bonds of humanity that help us to know each other as beloved. May we continue listening. May we keep watch. May we beckon love and justice and mercy, with all our own whispers, with our shouts, with our cries, until all know themselves part of the circle of love. Amen, and may it be so.
Whenever we pretend it's summer, then I'm the worm. I know the part, it's such a bummer, but fair is fair. If my segments get separated, I'll scream, and you'll be there. Close your eyes, slide the cotton off of your shoulder and feel the shine. I'm hooked, so toss me over and cast a line. I'll throw a party and greet my undersea friends as they arrive. You and I left our troubles far behind, but I still have just one more question on my mind. For all my pals who live in the oceans and the seas, with friends like these, well, who needs enemies? Da 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 da. If I'm your boy, let's take a shortcut we remember and we'll enjoy picking apples in late September like we've done for years. Then we'll take a long walk through the cornfield and I'll kiss you between the ears. If you're my girl, swirl me around your room with feeling, and as we twirl, the glow of the dark stars on your ceiling shine for us. As love sweeps over the room, 'cause we tend to make each other blush. You and I left our troubles far behind, but I still have just one more question on my mind. For all my pals who live in the oceans and the seas, with fronds like these, well, who needs an enemy? You're the bird, I'm the worm, and it's plain to see we were meant to be.
I'm going to share with you a story of how we came into relationships we have with our fellow beings, our friends the dogs, the horse, the bat. But most importantly, I am going to tell you of the first Unitarian Universalist. This is an old tale shared within the Just So stories, passed down by the great storyteller and lover of animals himself, Rudyard Kipling. So, hear and attend and listen, for this befell and happened and became and was. Oh, best beloved, when the tame animals were wild, the dog was wild, the horse was wild, the cow was wild, and the sheep was wild, and the pig was wild as wild could be. And they walked in the wet, wild woods by their wild lones. But the wildest of them all was the cat. He walked by himself, and all places were alike to him. Of course, the man was wild too. He was dreadfully wild, and he didn't even become tame until he met the woman. And she told him she did not like living in his wild ways. And she picked a nice dry cave, and she strewed sand on the floor, and she put a fire back at the back of the cave, and she hung a dried horsehair skin with the tails down, tails had to be down, across the opening of the cave. And she said, "Wipe your feet, dear, when you come in, and now we'll keep house." That night, best beloved, that night, they ate wild sheep roasted on hot stones and flavored with wild garlic and wild pepper, and wild duck stuffed with wild rice and wild fenugreek, which I don't know what that is, and wild coriander, which I do know what that is, and marrow bones from wild oxen, and wild cherries, and wild grenadillas. Then man went to sleep in front of the fire, ever so happy. But the woman, she sat up, and combing her hair, she took the bone of a shoulder of a mutton, the big flat bone, and she looked at the wonderful patterns on it, and she threw more wood on the fire, and she made a magic. She made the first singing magic in the world. Out in the wet wild woods, all the wild animals gathered together where they could see the light of the fire a long way off, and they wondered what it meant. When Wild Horse stamped his wild foot and said, "Oh, my friends and oh, my enemies, why have man and woman made this great light in that great cave? And what harm will it do to us?" Wild Dog lifted up his wild nose, and he smelled the roast mutton, and he said, "I will go and see and look and say, for I think it is good. Cat, come with me." "Nah," said the cat. "I am the cat who walks by himself, and all places are alike to me. I will not come." "Then we can never be friends again," said the wild dog, and he trotted off to the cave. But when he had gone a little way, Cat said to himself, "All places are alike to me. Why should I not go too and see and look and come away with my own liking?" So he slipped after Wild Dog softly, very, very softly. That's right, Floyd, very softly. No, and he hid himself where he could hear everything. When Wild Dog reached the mouth of the cave and smelled that roast mutton and saw the woman looking at the bone blade, and she heard him, and she laughed and said, "Here comes the first wild thing out of the wild woods. What do you want?" Wild Dog said, "Oh, my enemy and wife of my enemy, what is that smells so good in the wild woods?" Then the woman picked up the roasted mutton bone and threw it to the wild dog and said, "Wild thing out in the wild woods, taste, try. First bowl's free." Wild Dog gnawed on the bone, and it was more delicious than anything he had ever tasted. And he said, "Oh, my enemy and wife of my enemy, give me another." Wild woman said, "Wild thing of the wild woods, help my man hunt through the day and guard the cave at night, and I will give you as many roast muttons as you want." "Ah," said the cat, listening, "this is a very wise woman, but she is not so wise as I am." Wild Dog crawled into the cave and laid his head on woman's lap and said, "Oh, my friend and wife of my friend, I will help your man to hunt through the day, and at night I will guard your cave." "Ah," said the cat, listening, "that is a very foolish dog." And he went back into the wild woods, waving his wild tail, and went on his own, but he didn't tell anybody. In the morning, when man woke up, he said, "What is Wild Dog doing here?" And woman said, "His name is not Wild Dog anymore, but First Friend, because he will be our friend for always and always and always, and you can take him with you when you go hunting." Next night, woman cut a great green armfuls of fresh grass from the water meadows and dried it before the fire so that it smelt like new mown hay. And she sat at the mouth of the cave and plaited a halter out of horsehide. And she looked at the shoulder of the mutton's bone, that big, broad blade bone, and she made magic. She made the second magic in the world. Out in the wild woods, all the wild animals wondered what had happened to Wild Dog, and at last Wild Horse said, "I will go and see why Wild Dog has not returned. Cat, come with me." Said the cat, "I am the cat who walks by himself, and all places are alike to me." And the horse snapped, "I will not come." But all the same, he followed Wild Horse softly, very softly, and hid himself where he could hear everything. When woman heard Wild Horse tripping and stumbling on his long mane, she laughed and she said, "Here comes the second wild thing out of the wild woods. What do you want?" Wild Horse said, "Oh, my enemy and wife of my enemy, where is Wild Dog?" And woman laughed and picked up the blade bone and looked at it and said, "Wild things out of the wild woods, you did not come here for a wild dog, but for the sake of this good grass." And Wild Horse, tripped and stumbling on his long mane, said, "That is true. Give it to me to eat." The woman said, "Wild things out in the wild woods, bend your wild head and wear what I give you, and you shall eat the wonderful grass 3 times a day." "Ah," said the cat, listening, "this is a clever woman, but she is not as clever as I am." Wild Horse bent his wild head, and the woman slipped the plaited hide halter over it. And Wild Horse breathed on the woman's feet and said, "Oh, my mistress and wife of my mistress, I will be your servant for the sake of this wonderful grass." "Ah," said the cat, listening, "that is a very foolish horse." And he went back through the wet wild woods, waving his wild tail and walking his wild lone, but he never told anybody. When man and dog came back from hunting, the man said, "What is this Wild Horse doing here?" And woman said, "His name is not Wild Horse anymore, but First Servant, because he will carry us from place to place for always and always and always. Ride on his back when you go hunting." The next day, holding her head high, with her wild horns should not catch on the wild trees, Wild Cow came to the cave, and the cat followed, and hid himself just the same as before. And everything happened just the same as before, and the cat said the same things as before. And when the Wild Cow had promised to give her milk to the woman every day in exchange for wonderful grass, the cat went back into the wild woods, waving his wild tail on his lawn. And again, he told nobody. And when the man and the horse and the dog came home from hunting and asked the same questions as before, the woman said, "Her name is not Wild Cow anymore, but giver of good food." Interesting name, giver of good food. "She will give us warm white milk for always and always and always, and I will care for her while you and First Friend and First Servant go hunting." Next cat day, the cat waited to see if any other wild things would go up to the cave, but no one moved in the wet wild woods, so the cat walked up there by himself. And he saw the woman milking the cow, and saw the light of the fire in the cave, and smelt the smell of the warm white milk. Cat said, "Oh, enemy and wife of my enemy, where did Wild Cow go?" The woman laughed and said, "Wild thing out of the wild woods, go back into the woods again, for I have braided up my hair, and I have put away the magic blade bone, and we have no more need of either friends or servants in our cave." Cat said, "I am not a friend. I am not a servant. I am the cat who walks by himself, and I wish to come into the cave." Woman said, "Then why did you not come with first friend on the first night?" The cat grew angry and said, "Has Wild Dog told tales of me?" Then the woman laughed and said, "You are the cat who walks by himself, and all places are alike to you. Why would you come in here?" The cat pretended to be sorry and said, "Must I never come into the cave? Must I never sit by the warm fire? Must I never drink the warm milk? You are very wise and very beautiful. You should not be cruel to the cat." Woman said, "I knew I was wise, but I did not know I was beautiful. So I will make a bargain with you. If I ever say one word in your praise, you may come into the cave. And if you say 2 words of kindness, I never shall," said the woman. "But if I say 2 words in your praise, you may sit by the fire in the cave. And if you say 3 words, said the cat, "I never shall," said the woman. "But if I say 3 words in your praise, you may drink the warm white milk 3 times a day, for always and always and always." Then the cat arched his back and said, "Now let's be certain at the mouth of the cave and the fire at the back of the cave and the milk pots that stand by the fire, remember what my enemy and wife of my enemy has said." Now, my best beloved, there is so much more to the stories of how the world came to be. But this is how dog became first friend, horse became first servant, cow became good giver of good food, and the cat became the first Unitarian Universalist. ask you to look lovingly into the eyes of your animal friends, or think fondly of the ones that you have at home and in your heart as we bless them with our love. Blessed is the power that made every living thing with which the water teems, and every winged bird, the livestock, the creatures that move along the ground, and the wild animals, and call it all good. Thank you for this animal, for its life that comes in creation, and for the love and joy it brings. Please bless this creature and let our loving care for them be a reflection of our loving nature. We give praise for all the beauty of creation, and especially for the expression of that love. Amen, and may it be so. basket. They'll show you what to do, okay? So that we may keep everyone in dog bones, catnip, and birdseed, and so that we can continue to support our church family and all its endeavors, please give generously if you are willing and able. Half of today's free will collection will go to support Giaga Soji Support Network. This is an amazing organization started by members of our congregation. SOGI is a nonprofit group in Geauga County, Ohio, that works with individuals, families, friends, and the Geauga community to embrace sexual orientation and gender identity. Everyone supports one another through collaboration, education, and advocacy.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I would like to thank you for your generous financial contributions and your presence here today. This enables us together as a community to support our mission to love, revere, discover, and connect. Thank you. Today's benediction is an excerpt from To Break Our Hearts Open by Amanda Papaya. I wonder exactly what we're doing as human beings when we invite non-human animals into our homes. When our last cat died, my spouse and I thought that maybe it was time for a break from cats. Why add to our already hectic lives, already full with the care of 2 small humans and the maintenance of 2 adults? Why deal with the hassle of having to put away dinner leftovers right after dinner, lest they be eaten by a roaming pet? Perhaps our lives were better without extra fur. Our daughters disagreed. They felt, in fact, that a cat was integral to our family's continued happiness. More specifically, litter mates that would curl up together and lick each other's ears. Our daughters would feed them. They would take care of the litter box. We need never do anything again if we would only get some kittens for our family to love. We now have 2 kittens. They're ridiculous. They attack my toes and jump on the table, and I can already tell they're going to scratch the furniture. It's basically a disaster. I love them so much. Love is like that, you know. It's like kittens. Somewhat destructive, definitely annoying, and completely irresistible. If you would be willing to rise and join hands for our bond of union. We join hands in Unitarian, Universalist fellowship, pledging ourselves to an individual religious freedom which transcends all creeds, not to think alike, but to journey together.
And as we extinguish this chalice, we do not extinguish the light in our hearts. Bye, guys. Mwah.